And in fact, the fact that we will have a large segment of very senior citizens will contribute to another factors. Let me talk about those for a moment. 80% of those that are 65 or older will be living with at least one chronic disease in their lifetime. And if they live to the age of 75 or older, which is a very strong likelihood, an increasing likelihood, they will experience at least 3. Now, chronic disease, as you know, is not something that you go to the doctor, he gives you some medication, you go home and you get well. It's something that you live with for the rest of your life. One of the most debilitating aspects of these conditions will be neurological diseases, of which I already mentioned Alzheimer's is the most significant one that's on the rise. Alzheimer's, as I mentioned earlier, the numbers are very significant. It will afflict 1 in 8 adults over the age of 65, and at the age of 85, 1 out of 2, 50% of the population of that age will experience either Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or some other form of neurological disease. 70% of these people live at home, and it will have a very significant impact on their family care providers as a result, and their employers, which I'll talk more about in a moment. They are major consumers. I already mentioned they are major consumers of our healthcare systems and actually consume about 3 times the average of the average consumer. At this age, stroke also doubles. So we have a very significant rise in that condition as well. 87% of those at 65 and older take prescription drugs. Most average at least 4 or more prescription drugs. And one of the biggest challenges here is non-adherence. The fact that they do not take their drugs when they need to, which leads to other health problems. This leads to another $100 billion in annual health care costs. Now, that mentioning costs, senior care costs are dramatically increasing. The average health care costs are 3 times greater, 3 to 5 times greater, I mentioned already. The care costs for neurological diseases are already one-third of $1 trillion, and is expected by the year 2050, as you see here, to reach over $1 trillion. Good news is the majority of seniors want to live at home, want to live independently, want to age in place. That is good news, because to the degree that we can enable them to do that is a significant savings, not only on the healthcare system, but also on their families that provide for them. Family care is severely impacted by this growth. A large percentage of our population already take care of senior care workers and will continue to, senior care individuals. The cost for out-of-pocket, as you see here, can range from $5,000 to $15,000. The overall impact is over $33.6 billion to employers. And that's to cover the fact that these individuals who are taking care of their senior parents have to take time off, they reduce their hours, or they may have to quit their jobs. There will be a significant gap coming in terms of doing this, because as you know, baby boomers had a smaller family size, so there are actually fewer people to take care of them. If that weren't enough, we're also faced with an increasing gap of professional caregivers. Professional caregivers, for example, there is already a shortage, over 120,000 nurses in this country. Most nursing homes experience already understaffing, as you see here. By the year 2025, which is not that far away, we see that these numbers will increase, not only for nursing care, but more importantly for doctors as well. It's understood that addressing this problem cannot be taken care of simply by getting more medical students to enroll in schools. We must find some way to make our existing care network, professional care network, more efficient, give them better ways to connect through technologies like robotics with their customer base. Here are a few quotes that I just want to share with you. You can see this was a recent article in the New York Times that said that basically it's not just the cost of how we're going to fund this, but how are we going to provide the care that we need to. There are other interesting people here. Here's the Center for Strategic and International Studies. that indicate that if we do not address senior care, that we're faced with a very significant problem in terms of our healthcare system. Ed Schneider from University of Southern California has termed it, well, I love this term, he's termed it as a tsunami that we're facing, that if we don't address this problem soon. And Joseph Coughlin at MIT refers to this as that we're running out of time to solve this problem. So we have an opportunity. The opportunity that we have, as already mentioned, is using robotic technology. You're going to hear today on how medical and surgical robots can be used to address this problem, to reduce costs, to improve the productivity of staff, and encourage better therapeutic outcomes. In addition, you're going to hear from my fellow panelists how robots can help in other areas of healthcare in terms of rehabilitation, in terms of replacement and substitution, behavioral therapy, and socially assisted care. There is technology available that will help us reduce these overwhelming costs. It is a very competitive landscape. If you look in Japan, actually Henry Christensen talked about this in the last caucus meeting, about how Japan is putting over $100 million into this category of service robotics, specifically because they are facing this challenge even faster than we do. South Korea is pumping millions of dollars into their local industry to participate in this, to help solve this problem. Even in the EU, they're sinking hundreds of millions of dollars into solving this problem in the robotics space. In this country, we've already spent, or we're spending over $5 billion in military robotics. That's a good thing because we actually benefit from some of the technologies that are applicable from the military thing. But where is our investment going in terms of dealing with this into the healthcare system? Based on what was presented last time at the last caucus, there is an excellent guide of which, if you didn't pick up a copy, there are some out in the desks outside, which is a roadmap that Henry Christensen and a number of his associates that need to be done at the governmental level to help us achieve and help us deal with this problem. So in summary, there's no question here in anyone's mind that we face significant challenges in our healthcare systems. These cannot be solved simply by electronifying our healthcare system, our medical records, or getting more doctors and nurses into the category. Those may be good things to do, but we might do much more to provide for increased productivity. Robotics is an excellent technology. You're going to hear today from 3 presenters who will tell you about exactly from their work how they are making an impact on things. These are not theoretical things. These are products that are being tested right now, that are going through testing or actually are already on the marketplace today. These are ways to improve our health care of our citizens in this country. But we're going to have to make a strong commitment to leadership in this position. We are faced again in a very competitive environment where other countries are making these investments. We need to face up, we need to measure up and have the same kind of commitment in this country if we're going to meet the costs and the healthcare needs of our citizens. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Maya, who will give you a closer look at her area and the work that she's doing. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Maya Matari from USC. It's not really a height issue as much as a width issue. I'm speaking for 2, so I want you to sit down so you can see better. I hope that's okay. So, as Candy just showed you, we have a vast spectrum of growing healthcare challenges. And as he pointed out, it's not going to be enough to do what we've already talked about in terms of healthcare reform. We have to do more. So in order to tell you one direction of more in terms of using robotics, let me try to classify the healthcare needs we've discussed into 3 categories. So one category that you see on the right of this slide is individualized learning and training for both children, young adults, and then adults with special needs. On the other side of the slide, you see regaining function and retaining independence, which really refers to everyone from mitigating obesity in youth to soldiers coming back with lifelong injuries and now living longer than ever before, to seniors and even not so senior people suffering from strokes and having disability of lifelong. And then, of course, the aging population that we're all hopefully in. and where caretaking is needed, and in particular this notion of aging in place, the ability to stay at home.